we was kicking ass all over the earth. There was a time when we did that, but for most of the existence of earth, we've been in captivity. We've been in captivity, and I mean, we read in the Apocrypha about how to translate. You know what I'm saying? Paraphrasing, to translate from one language to another, from Hebrew to the next language, doesn't have the same force. And that was when it was being translated from what? From Hebrew to Greek. When that brother is writing that part, we're now reading it in what? In English. It's the second translation. But when he wrote it, he wasn't talking about translating it to English. He was talking about translating it to what? To Greek. You understand? King James is 1600s. The brother who wrote that was Jesus. We know the real name would be Yahushua, but Jesus, right? Which is a Greek name. So we know he's translating it into Greek. This is the nature of it. So that's why we have what is called the Assyrian Hebrew. It's not a different language, okay? It's still Hebrew, okay? This is Hebrew and this is Hebrew, but this is ancient Hebrew. This is real Hebrew. This is our Hebrew, okay? This is a borrowed writing system that's a lot older than what we have now. That's all. It's older than English. It's older than everything else they got. So we know this to be safe, just so that way. See, most things we read, you're not going to find a lot of things in ancient Hebrew. Like the brother said, Yanazar always points it out because that's the historian. He points out this died. This was straight up dead. It 300 years after Christ is pretty much dead now. The only place you're going to see this is in I.S.U.P.K in the convention. That's the only place you're going to see this at all. This right here, fake Israelite groups have this in their schools. They got that piece of paper in your hand. Fake Israelite groups have one in their school, and at the top of it, it says Israelite School UPK. We've been teaching this since 1969. Like we've been doing this since doing this, right? But you're not going to find that everywhere. Even when you read a Tanakh, as we do, you see that. You see what it says. You see that, right? What's that say? Tawara, right? What's it say? Banaya yum. Let's say Kathawabium, right? Whatever that means. I'm not too sure what that exact phrase means, but that's what that says, right? But yeah, if you look at the words in here, you will see it's entirely written in what is called Assyrian Hebrew. Assyrian. And in the Sabbath service, this is what we read. You know what I'm saying? What we got here? Ashar, Yakora Yabwa, right? Mamana, Korabun, La Yahweh, Kal Ashar Yathun. We read this. But what did I just read? What did I just say? When I pick this up and I go, Nara, Yahaya, Hashakwal, right? Id, Bakawar Ashar, Yabakar, La Yahweh. What am I reading? What am I reading?
You reading Hebrew.
I'm reading Hebrew. Am I reading some fake Hebrew?
No.
I'm not. Because if I give this to some cat whose name is Cohen, right, and tell him to read this, you know what he's going to say? He's going to say, Lacham, Eth, Qadash. He's going to say a bunch of nonsense. He's going to say Lachaim and Bat Mitzvah and all of this. And Mazel Tov, Yahuv, Yehudi. That's what he's going to say when he reads this. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying none of that. Because that's not what this says. This does not say that at all. This does not say Yehudi. You know what I'm saying? That's not Hebrew. It's not the symbols that make it Hebrew alone. It's the sound. So when I read this and I say Ashar, that's Hebrew. But if you say something else, then you just speaking another language and using the symbols. All right. Most High in Christ. Now, with that being said, I'm going to employ my main man, Yanazar, if you could, that wonderful penmanship that you have. And let me get both the ancient and the Assyrian on both sides. Once you do the ancient on this side first, Bob Kushah, then do the Assyrian here. Once you get done with the ancient, we're going to go ahead and start reading that out loud to familiarize ourselves with the phonetics. What does it sound like? How do we say these words? All right. It's right here. My bad. I thought I handed the right one to you. Yeah, no sweat. Now, as I was saying about this language, if you could pause, sticking that up a little bit, it's looking a little thin. Yeah, they got to see it real clear at home. Okay. That's better for sure. All right. Now, what you are seeing here is the oldest, I'll use this word, practical, daily utilized form of Hebrew. We've talked about it before. Now, are these exact symbols the very, very first symbols that were used? No. They're not the very first symbols that were used, right? There were other symbols or other forms of these symbols prior, but this was the first form that could practically be used by anyone. This was the first form that could be used as an everyday writing system. You'll see it on ancient. You can go look at artifacts, right? You can go look at artifacts where this language is written on things, on like pots, right? The not the Meshastele, I can't remember the name of it, but you'll see this writing system on things that would not be only for royalty. You know what I'm saying? Even though really, if you think about the history of the Israelites, the concept of royalty is really foreign to us. You know what I'm saying? Now, that doesn't mean that we are royalty, but not in the sense that heathens think of royalty, right? We didn't have kings. We certainly didn't have queens. That never happened and will never happen. We never had no queens in Israel. Okay. The sisters in here and the sisters that we've always had have been princesses. You understand? A queen is, I don't even know what to describe it as. You know what I'm saying? We don't have that. Okay. But this was a pattern or a system of writing that was common. You could write it on your pots. You could write it on different things easily. The symbols that existed originally were much more complex, much more intricate, okay, and impractical. Impractical. We talk about that as the progression of language. You need to have something like, imagine you writing a grocery list. If I imagine it to write instead of writing apple, I had to draw an apple. Now I got to draw this. I have to find a way to draw this perfectly so that way no one mistakes it for an orange, a peach, a grapefruit, a lemon, any other round fruit of any kind. So just drawing a picture of an apple is just not practical. It won't work. So what you're looking at is the first or the oldest practical form of the language. that we can use to get these words out and make it make sense and make it very readable. Okay. And when you get done, Yanazar, let's get the transliterations under each letter. Kind of take your time. Take your time. Right. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the ancient here. Right. So if you notice how it's written out, you want to take your attention to the upper right corner on the left side, because in Hebrew, unlike this bastard tongue called English, we do not read it from the left to right. Most ancient languages, most older languages are read from right to left anyway. You can see the blueprint of the fact that this is the oldest language and the fact that older languages work that way. Mandarin works that way. Cantonese works that way. Sanskrit works that way. Arabic works that way. Right? But of course, more modern languages are different. If you could, Baba Kushab. What is this process that he's doing? Yanazar is doing what as we speak? Said the word a few times in class already. He's not translating, there we go, transliterating. Meaning he is taking these ancient symbols and he is providing the sound that of these symbols using a different writing system, using an English writing system. Damn right, get that brother a hand. Not one time because he's been doing this. No, don't feel bad, Lucis. No sweat, no sweat. We're gonna run it down. Let's all do it together, all right? So we're just gonna read it. We're gonna go nice and slow, right? And just get this pronunciations out. All right, y'all ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha. Let's stop. All right. This symbol, this sound is not ka. It's ka. It's softer, right? Again, it'll take time. You don't want to turn it into L'chaim. You don't want to turn it into Eddie Murphy in Coming to America. You don't want to turn it into that, but it's softer than ka. It's ka. Ka. All right? Here we go. Ka, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I. Right? This symbol represents what? I know you know. What does this actual symbol represent? Take a guess. Maybe this will help. I can't draw, but Damn right. That's literally what this symbol, this circle, represents. And we've talked about it in class before. We're not going to go all the way into that particular topic today, but each of these ancient symbols represents something, right? There's a it's not arbitrary. It's unlike English, right? Like there's no reason why the letters represent what they represent in English. There's no reason. It's purely arbitrary. It's just whatever sound they chose. But in our language, there's a reason for every single one of these. Each one of these symbols represents the beginning of a word that represents this symbol. For example, the da represents what? What's the word and what does it represent? Mm-hmm. Right. The da comes from the word dalath, which means door. It represents the opening or the doorway of a tent. So imagine you have a tent, right? Like our Gadite brothers, our so-called Native American Indian brothers, make tents. And the doorway of the tent would be this fabric, right? Would come down and it would drape open like this. And this is the doorway of the door of the tent. Okay? And that's where this symbol comes from. It represents that. Okay? Let's finish them out and then we'll get a couple more just to round it out, right? So I'm going to keep going. Let's start from the top again. Y'all ready? Here we go. Ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za. Good? A little softer. Ha. Ha. There we go. Ha. You'll get it. Ha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, tza, kwa, ra, sha, ta. Okay? The symbol ra comes from the word ra'ash. Right. Ra'ash means head. Literally like the head, like of it can be literal or figurative. It could be your head on your body, or it could be meaning figuratively the beginning of something, right? Or the prominent part of something. And that symbol, this symbol, is supposed to represent a person's head. Imagine this is the neck. You've seen them from like a profile from the side. This is the neck. It's a crude way, but remember, you're trying to write fast. Like I said, this is most practical. Before this, it would have looked way different from that. Just like this symbol is supposed to represent an ox or a cow, right? The head of the cow with the horns. But there was a time when it was almost like you had to draw a cow's head in order to draw this symbol, but it wasn't practical. Because how can I draw that or write that fast if I got to write something fast? Can't do it. Okay. And I'll show my favorite one before we go into the Assyrian and before we get into just understanding how the simple, basic way to use these letters to form Hebrew words, right? My other favorite one is the qua. What word does the word, what is the Hebrew word that the qua corresponds to? Before we even get to what the symbol is, what's the Hebrew word that it corresponds to? The qua. Not Qadash. Close. I'm gonna write it out. I'm gonna see if the sister can get it, right? We're gonna do this together. Because it's our language, right? So sis, how we do this, how we read, is no different than we were taught to read in English. What was the first thing you were taught when you were learning to speak words in English, to read specifically? Who remembers what we were taught back in kindergarten, first grade? Like, what's the first step? Sound it out. That's the first thing we learned, right? Which is exactly. Let me tell you something. is way easier in Hebrew than it is in English. Way easier. Because there's some words in English that if you sound it out, it's like, what? Knife. How am I supposed to sound this out? Doesn't make any sense. How am I supposed to sound out words with P at the beginning where it's, how do you sound out psychiatrist? Psychiatrist? You understand? Psalms, right? Got to read the book of Psalms, right? But yeah, it's a lot easier here. So all we're going to do is sound it out. And we read Hebrew from which direction? Right to left. So the first thing we have to do is identify our first symbol. What's the first symbol here? Close. Damn right. That's exactly how you pronounce that symbol. Qua, right? What about this symbol? So now we're going from right to left. So we got our qua. Qua we have. Got it. Done deal. Right? What's our next symbol? Wa. Beautiful. So we got qua. We got wa. And what's our last symbol? Perfect. Sha. So is that it? Is the word Kwawasha? Is that it? Are we done? We got it all figured out? What you think? You'd be correct. We're not done. Right? You're correct, right? Why are we not done? That's one way to look at it, right? We haven't really focused on these. Ancient Hebrew has these things called connectors. You'll see it on your paper there at the top, right? This doesn't exist in Assyrian. So when we get to Assyrian, you'll see why brothers hate reading this, even though we have to. But in ancient, we have connectors. Give me, Salaki Yanazar, if you could, Baba Kusha. I want you to give me the definition of a vowel and the definition of a syllable. You're really going to understand this Hebrew. I promise you. You're going to be speaking this Hebrew and it's going to be a breeze. Yanazar is going to get us a definition. Give me the definition of vowel first.
Come on, sir. The definition of vowel. One of a class of speech sounds in the articulation of which the oral part of the breath channel is not blocked.
That is the sonic form of that definition. That's telling you what vowels sound like. But that's not telling you how vowels function. That's probably going to be the next definition. We'll find out, right? The meaning, when they talk about is not blocked, it just means that with consonants, right? We learned this in English. Consonants, B, C, D, F, G, K, L. The air passageway is blocked, or another word they use is they use friction, but there's another word. Oh boy, what is that word? We'll stick with blocked for now. I can't think of the other word, bro. I'm drawing blanks today, right? But blocked. And whereas with vowels, it's not. You say A, no part of your mouth, right, causes, right, any abrupt stop, any friction, right? It doesn't block it. As in with B, your lips block the air passage. C, your teeth and your tongue. D, your tongue and the top of your palate. F, your teeth and your lips, and so on and so forth. Block the air passage to form different sounds. right? But with vowels, vowel sounds doesn't do that. A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, right? But let's get another definition. Read on. See if we got another one.
A letter or a other symbol representing a vowel, usually used in English. That's all they got at the Webster.
No problem. I always find it in this other one, the New Oxford. It's just on your if you got an iPhone and you just type in a word and you try to look for the definition, it'll go to the New Oxford Dictionary. So if I type in vowel, see it comes up New Oxford American Dictionary. I can click on it. Right. It says a speech sound. This goes back to the definition that Yanazar had, but there's a little more to this one. A speech sound which is produced by comparatively, right, open configuration of the vocal tract with vibration of the vocal cords, but without audible friction. And this is the important part, and which is the unit of the sound of a language that forms the nucleus of a syllable. The nucleus of a syllable. What does the nucleus mean? The middle part, the center of it, right? The nucleus of a syllable. This is just a fancy way of saying in English, you need vowels in order to form the syllables. So if I want to say it's I'm happy, I need how many syllables is the word happy? 2 syllables. So how many vowels do I need? 2. If I want to say I'm sad, how many syllables is the word sad? And what's the nucleus of this one syllable? This vowel. Literally, it's the nucleus of it. It's the middle. This is how you form the syllable. Okay? Now that we understand that, this is how it works in English. Specifically, it even said that in the definition that Yanazar gave. Trust me, there's a reason for all of this. Okay? Because we're trying to complete that word. That's our goal right now, is to complete this word. The sister said, what's the name again, Lucky? Jade? Jade or Jay? Jay. Got you. Okay. So Jay said this word is not complete, and she is absolutely correct. 100% correct. The word is not Kwawasha. That is not the word. Okay. But we're like, how do we know that? How do we get to the bottom of what this actual word is? Well, this is what's going to help us understand it, right? Understanding this is going to help us understand the difference and why this works differently. Okay. And then how to actually say that. Okay. So in English, these vowel symbols, A, E, I, O, U, form the nucleus of a syllable. But in Hebrew, all of our symbols are what? Not vowels, they're a vowel consonants. They're all consonants, right? How is that possible? How is that possible when it's ah, ba, ga? You can even hear the vowel in them. Ah, 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 ah. Because of the function. Like we said here, these are the nucleus of a syllable. Sad, happy, mad, friend, whatever English word you use. This doesn't make sense without this. If you were to write this in English, what the hell is that? That's not a word. This is not a word. This either means like, this is either like an abbreviation for San Diego or something like that, but it's not a word. But our system is like this. When you see these symbols connected to form a word, you're not looking at, there's no vowels here. Each one of these is a consonant. The vowel sounds are implied. They're there, but they're not written. We don't have a letter to make this. So writing this would be like writing, it would be like writing sad SD, or writing mad MD, or any other word that you can think of. Faith, it would be like writing faith FTH, right? That's literally what you're looking at when you're looking at Hebrew. You're looking at a collection of consonants. None of these are vowels. None of them. The vowel sounds are implied, right? So when you see this qua, depending on the situation, that's what we're going to get to understand, you'll have to find out whether that implied sound, which is always a short A sound, whether it's there or not. Qua, wa, sha. As we wrote out. Qua, wa, sha. Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere, right? So now we know we don't have a written vowel system. It's just we have these consonants, and these vowel sounds are just there automatically. But then we have a situation where this may not be right, because this sisters, you said this isn't correct. I'm going to give you the final word to make it simple. The word is quawash. Quawash. That's the word. It's not quawasha, it's quawash. But how can we get to that? If we have all these implied vowel sounds, how do we have this sh by itself? This consonantal sound by itself without this ah? How do we do that? Simple. We have a thing called connectors. These things right here. So while English has A-E-I-O-U to tell you what the nucleus of the syllable, no matter what word it is. Let's think of Mississippi. I know I'm spelling this wrong. Mississippi. I guess that's right. I don't know. How many syllables in Mississippi? Mississippi. 4, right? How many vowels? Mississippi. 4 vowels to represent, to create the 4 syllables. We need to create, how many syllables is the word quawash? 2. It's 3 letters, but it's 2 syllables. So in order to do that, we have got to have something that shows us there's only 2 syllables. And what we have is these connectors. And what they do, so you'll see one that looks like this, and one that looks like this. When you see this that looks like kind of like a frown under a singular letter, it tells you that this letter carries its own syllable. It's its own syllable, meaning it carries that vowel sound with it. It's not a vowel. The symbol's not a vowel, but that implied sound, that implied vowel sound is there. It's there by itself. Qua. Where we at? Qua. By itself, qua. You're going to pronounce it that way. But when you see the kind of smile symbol, you'll always see it in between 2 symbols. Never under one syllable. Under one symbol. Salakia. Under one symbol. You'll see it under 2. What do you think that denotes? Right? You're right. That's absolutely correct. But give me a good way to put it based on what we've been talking about. What does it do to those 2 symbols? It makes those 2 symbols into one what? One what? This is its own what? His own what? This letter, because of this, we know that this is by itself as a what? You got to get the word. In English, like we do with Mississippi, these vowels, A-E-I-O-U, are the nucleus of what? Pronounce what though? They're the The vowels are the nucleus or the center of Mississippi. That's for what? Syllables. So this symbol tells us that this symbol by itself represents one what? One syllable. Now this symbol takes two symbols. Excuse me, let me not confuse you. This connector takes two letters and tells you they form how many syllables? No, because that would be 1, 2, 3 syllables. It would be qua, wa, sha. But we need 2 syllables. Qua, wash. So what does this do to, you got 2 letters, but it turns them into, say it. One what? One what? Not symbol. The other word. Other S word. You said it before. There we go. My bad. I might have misheard you. Right. One syllable. Give her a hand. Damn right. That's it. One syllable. It eliminates this last one. Hold on, what I do? Yeah. It eliminates this and makes these 2 letters into one syllable. Qua is by itself. And then these 2, wa and sha, form one syllable. Wash. You understand? Okay. Now we getting it, right? And this word means what? Who knows what the word kawash means? Like I said, each of these symbols represents an actual thing. Go ahead, Yanazar. The snare, the trap. I always show this picture because it's one of my favorite things. When I first seen it, I was like, yo, that's bugged out. That's bugged out. So the word kawash means a snare. Think of it like a trap, right? Like a bear trap or something. It's a snare. But this is what it comes from. It literally comes from this. Just a moment. Here we go. This is a picture of an 8,000-year-old mousetrap. Right, exactly. It's just turned sideways. But yeah, but if you turn it right side up, it's the same symbol. That's what it is. It's a mousetrap. It's an ancient mousetrap. Right? See how it all makes sense? In the Christian church, it wasn't like this. Things didn't make sense like this. Okay? Most High in Christ. Let's get one more example, or maybe 2 more examples in the ancient before we move on to the Assyrian, right? These connectors, man, it's so important to understand. These are the basics, but man, I'm telling you, this is the groundwork by which you will understand Hebrew. You'll get it. It all makes sense. So another word is the word mayum, which means water. Okay? I kind of just gave it to you. I use a different one now because I gave you the whole word and how to say it. All right, the word for I won't tell you. I'm just going to write it. This symbol, but there's a whole word. Now, what I want is I want someone to give me the transliteration. I want you to take this ancient thousands of year old letters that I just wrote on this board that you can only find on ancient artifacts, and I want you to turn it into a word written out in English letters, just like we just did a second ago with the word Qawash, right? Or the word Qadash we used earlier, or Lashawan, or whatever. I want you to write it out in English, to convert this into English letters. Yeah, Who's up for it? I want to give this. I know Yanazar could do it now. Yanazar, I'm gonna let you do it, right? But I want to see it. You don't want to see the sister that wants to give it a go. She just learned. She just learned. She's speaking ancient Hebrew already in all of what she's been there. What, an hour and a half? Already speaking ancient Hebrew. Already writing it down. So I want to give her an opportunity because, sis, if you can translate that into an English or written out, better not into English word, but written out in English letters, you just became smarter than like 95% of the planet Earth. All from coming to you've been in class. I don't want to do like that, but coming to one Hebrew class. Go. Most I give her a hand. All right, sis. Let me help you out, sis. Write exactly what each of those symbols. When you transliterate it, you're just taking the transliteration of each symbol and connecting it. So the first letter is I, right? What's under the I? It's right there, right? But what's under it? That's what it is. Now I'll be impressed. Hold on, not quite yet. That's exceptional. Or is that your final answer? Look at what we just learned from the previous word and look at that ancient Hebrew word right there. Look at everything connected to it. No sweat. Okay. Get a sister hand. Hand right. I got you. Let me help you out. Excellent work, because of course the I is an I, and the Yah is a Yah, and the Na is, where's it at? Is a Na. That's correct. But we have these connectors. Each connector, think of each connector almost like you would think of each one of these vowels in English. Whenever you see any of them, whether it's this one or this one, it means that's a syllable. So if there's only two of these, how many syllables are there? Right. If there's three of them, no matter how, whether it could be three, it could be like this. I'm not gonna write no letters, but if you see bop, bop, bop under three Hebrew letters, it's three syllables. If you see bop, bop, bop under 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters, it's how many syllables? It's still three syllables. As long as there's three of these, whatever combination, it's three syllables. With that being said, I-ya-na is three syllables, but there's only two connectors. So then it has to be how many syllables? Two, which means which letters getting knocked off, which vowel sound is getting knocked off. This is its own thing. And these two do what? They connect to form one syllable. They're one syllable. So this is it. Ayun. That is the word. That is the Hebrew word for I. Ayun. The English word for I literally comes from the Hebrew word for I. Ayun. Okay? Because the sister did so swab, we're gonna give one. We're gonna do one more. We're gonna do another one, man. We might. We only got about 8 minutes left. We might just end with this and just brush up a little bit on the Syrian, because this is excellent work. I love to see it. Let's try some more. It's wonderful, man. I'm that's just how my personal way of looking at things. I love when things connect, they come together, and it all just makes sense so beautifully. Let's also learn a word that we use commonly. Now, it says, are you familiar with the greeting, the Hebrew greeting for sisters? We say it at the end of class. We say shalom, right? But when we salute the sisters at the end of class, we say Yahweh Shamar Alathun Bahashim Yahushua, right? We say all of that. Let's do this. Oh no, not yet, not yet, not yet. No, you good? Not yet. I got you. I want this transliterated. Remember, every letter has to be represented. You cannot skip any letter. Every letter has to be represented. Right, that's what I'm saying. You saying it, but what did you write? No. Sound it out. What does that say? Right. Now, how would you write that? Think about the one thing you have on there that makes it not say that. Hold up. Give her a hand. Damn right. That's it. That's it. Excellent. Yahweh. Right? The ha at the end is not silent. It's actually there. Right? Think of it just like a sound. Yahweh. Right? Four, remember we said earlier, they're each consonants. So now if you look at it, it's got erased a little bit, but there's no sweat. If you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4 consonants. 1, 2, 3, 4 consonants. 1, 2, 3 syllables. 1, 2, 3 vowels. Now it's not always gonna perfectly work out like that. In the case of some of these, like the Shah, right? The Shah technically has 2 consonants. If you think of it in terms of English letters, S and H are 2 consonants, right? Or the Tha, T and H are 2 consonants. So it's not always gonna work that way. Or the same thing with the Ka, right? But the point being that these consonants, because guess what? This is what is called what? Who knows what this is called? We mentioned it today. Who knows what this is called? The Y, the H, the W, and the H. The tetragrammaton. The tetragrammaton. That's what this is called. You'll see it written out like this. In ancient, it's written like this. In Assyrian, it's written like this. Right? And then in English, it's written like this. And it's literally written this way to reflect the fact that in Hebrew, whether it be in ancient or in Assyrian, there are no vowels. Each of these symbols just represents the consonants. Okay? But that's excellent work, sis. That's true. You just translated the ancient name of the Most High into English by yourself. Right? It's good work, right? And we can do this all day long. Any Hebrew word I give you, any Hebrew word I say, we can write it out. That means we can write out a whole sentence. We could write out a whole sentence. We won't do it, but we could. Like if I say Yahweh, if I say Yahweh Shema Allah by Shema Shah, you know how to write the first word of that. And now you also know if I write Shamar, which is the Hebrew word for guard, right? Or watch over something. If I write in ancient Hebrew, if I write Salakia, write it over here. Let me get rid of this. Bear with me. In ancient Hebrew, if I write Shamar, right? You would, when you see this, you already know, oh, that's 2 syllables, and I know each of these symbols. So if I transliterate this, I know I'm gonna flip it because it's in ancient we read from right to left, but in English it goes from left to right. So I'm gonna write this first symbol, which is a Shah. I'm gonna write the next symbol, which is a Ma. Then I'm gonna write the last symbol, which is a Ra. Oh, but these 2 are connected, right? So this has to be 1 syllable. The only way for this to be 1 syllable is to get rid of that. Shamar. 2 syllables. Shamar. Right? The first, whenever you see this, the first one, we don't not even confuse you. Just imagine in your head, whenever you see anything written out in Hebrew, just imagine that in between each letter is this. And guess what? There's going to be situations where it stays at the end. It's not always going to be cut off from the end, right? For example, you ever heard of the tribe of Levi, right? The tribe of Levi, if you write that word in ancient Hebrew, is written like this. Right? That's how you write it. And the connectors are not like this. These are the connectors for this particular word. That's still how many syllables? 2. But it's not like where you're going to connect the last 2. You're actually going to connect the first 2. So when we transliterate it, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to write our la, right? But we're not going to write it by ourselves because it's by itself, because it's not by itself. We see that there's a wa. So we write the la because it's the first word. Then we see this wa here. But we can see from the connector that it shares their one syllable together. So we're not going to write la wa because that's 2 syllables. No, it has to be law because this is one syllable and this is another syllable. So it's going to be actually what? Law, yeah. That's how you say Levi in Hebrew, ancient Hebrew. Okay? And we can do this all day long. And this is how we end up being able to read, to read the Hebrew by just sounding it out. Simple. We just sound it out. The unfortunate thing, before we head out, the unfortunate thing is that most of the time we're going to be reading the Assyrian. And in the Assyrian, we don't have connectors. So you won't see connectors that tell you, oh, this is Loya. My rib's name is Lawaya. Right? You might confuse it if you don't have connectors like, hey, La, Wa, Ya, or Lord, Ya, or Lawai, or how do I say it? You have to learn the words, simple and plain. You just got to get familiar with the language, learn the words, you know what I'm saying? Read until you got it. That's all you can do. Okay, we're going to get more on that next week. Hey, we didn't get as far as I wanted to go, man. We had an excellent lesson on the alphabet. I hope it helped you, sis, and I hope it helped y'all tuning in, you know what I'm saying, next week. Well, actually, next week, I ain't going to be here, and neither will Giannis are. What time are you leaving? When you leaving, huh? Can't. So I'm going to have to see if I can get another priest up in here, or I don't know, because we're going to be up in New York for the cookout. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all be there. We going back to the hood. You know what I'm saying? It's going down, not the hood, but it's going down to Marcus Garvey Park, right? Yeah. The cookout is on Sunday in Marcus Garvey Park, in the middle of Harlem. What's them streets? Giannis is from Harlem. You know what I'm saying? Original Harlem child. You know what I'm saying? Harlem in the Bronx in the house. What streets is Marcus Garvey on? It's Most High in Christ. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Queens. I don't know what the heck he's talking about. But you know what I'm saying? Most High in Christ. We're going to be up in there. Again, the water to everybody for tuning in to today's class. Again, we're going to continue next week. I do want to get to learning some more vocabulary. I had some in mind today. And we're going to get talk about the 7 heads. And we're going to get the names of the 7 generals as well. We're going to do all of that. Okay? So if there's no question, is there any questions? Since you got a question related to anything we went over today? Shalom, Adawan. What's the definition of shamar? Shamar means to guard or to watch over, right? So in a few minutes, we're actually going to say the greeting, right? And that greeting, I'll put it right here real quick just so you can see it. All right, I'm just going to write it out, right? The greeting is this. For the sisters, it's Yahweh, which is the Most High's name. It's Yahweh. Shamar, Isle, Atha, Bahashem, Yahushua. Right? Which means the Most High, right? Most High, watch over you in the name of is implied of Christ. The Most High watch over you in the name of Christ. And that's what we're saying. It's a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Most High in Christ. And so